Logical Larry and logical Lara don't want to be rushed. So the subjects they like the most normally are math, science, logic related subjects, long-term projects, and problem solving, and one-to-one group subjects. No, they'll never feel comfortable probably in a co-op. It doesn't mean that they can't join one and you don't want them to join one so they can learn how to express their feelings around other people and learn to be around them. But also you can feed their desire by meeting one-on-one with another child that has similar interests. They thrive in that type of environment. Okay, so here's their likes. How do we teach them? They like independent work. They don't need or want a lot of help sometimes from you as the parent. They like to experiment on problem solving. What are the different outcomes here? They need time enough to do their research and think, how can I make this different? Here's an example on grammar. We have dependable Diane that loves grammar and that will do grammar and that will write, and then maybe perhaps she does a draft. She doesn't mind writing, she'll do a draft, but then you could have a logical Larry or logical Lara who's already correcting the grammar on it before you're finished with the content. Because she's so exacting, she thinks you have to do the grammar. So I had to help one of my kids to realize we're just drafting. This is not the final copy. And they seem to like to be, as they're called in the past, grammar nerds, and I like them. They're the ones that I'll never hear from them on my site. And the only email I get from them is telling me that I made a mistake in my grammar or left off a period. And I appreciate this. I don't get offended by it. I know their personality. They're great proofreaders. But you can see how they take these subjects and they work with them because they're so exacting. And they'll say, it's not right if we don't do the grammar. And they're right. It's not right. But we have to help them first. We have this process of drafting this writing. And let's not focus yet on the grammar. We're not there yet because they immediately want to focus. When I mean grammar, I mean punctuation. Punctuation is what they want to focus on, the punctuation immediately. Okay. They want a clear sense for purpose. They don't need to see something acted out or a drama. They think they'll roll their eyes and they may think it's silly. Why can't I just read this in a book? Why do I have to do hands-on? One of my sons, this is his second. He has a dominant, which is a dependable Dan, but his second strong one also is this logical Larry. And he tends to do this. He didn't want to do anything hands-on as he thought, but I made him do things hands-on because I wanted him to take information in through many different senses. And he enjoyed it when I insisted that he do it. But I didn't make the hands-on complicated. They don't like that unless it is a subject they're interested in, maybe a subject like chemistry or something where there has to be a lot of hands-on things that they want to see or do. Because a lot of the learning personalities, the modality goes with it too. If they're visual or if they're auditory or hands-on, that works together with the learning personality. Okay, they like a clear sense of purpose for the lesson. What are we trying to learn here? They can really help you to trim the fat, so to speak. What is it we want to learn? Also, they like to do independent research. They use exact, well-researched information. And it's funny because when I would teach these workshops and they would come to my class and I knew it was a logical Lara and she was sitting over there quiet and in the back room not want me to see her, but she had amassed so much information. Sometimes I'd ask them, do they want to come up and teach the class? And that would kind of break the ice with them. But I respect them because they have done their job. They just can't imagine anyone having a knee-jerk reaction and homeschooling or just falling into it. They don't fall into anything. Everything's exacting before they make a decision. And yes, frustrations are that they're not flexible and they could use being flexible and bendable and recognizing others' needs for emotions and need to be around other people. They don't want to be rushed. They will even miss deadlines. They don't care. They will miss a deadline to get it right with their research. They need time to think. They want to explain, predict, and control realities. That's how they look when they get ready to do something. That's how they look at. That's why they like math so well. It's logical. It's logical. To them, math is easy because it's logical. There's just formulas. Figure it out, right? Do it. That's it. And they like that. They want to be allowed time to accelerate in subjects. Out of all the personalities, these are the ones that are like, okay, I've got this. I really don't want to make this ugly face to you, Mom, but I've got this. I'm ready to move on. They want to move on at their pace in subjects. Now, here's what they don't like. They don't like repeating the same task over. And if we think, okay, well, they need memorization or they need review, they don't really like that. Chances are they got it the first time because they usually don't move on until they do have it. So they don't like that. They don't want to have an explanation for everything. And sometimes some of the explanations are tied into their feelings, which they don't like expressing. So they don't want to have to explain everything that they researched. That, like the dependable Diane and Dan, they do like things, even though they struggle with organization. They do struggle with organization. They still like having organization. And they seem to get along well with the dependable Dans and Dianes because they see a sense or a need for order in the world. And so do logical Lara and Larry's. And so they want a quiet place to be able to do their research and their learning. And they don't want unreasonable deadlines. Like I explained before, they'll miss it. They don't care. Well, you won't get this grade. They don't care. They'll miss it to get it right and to have their research. And they love their technical devices, which is another, they like techie things. This is another thing you need to know about because I use that also for one of my sons when he wanted to not get done what I wanted him to get done. Subjects he wanted to were important, but also I wanted him to cover these other subjects. And I said, okay, well, these things, yes, you write, but these things can be done on a tablet or an app. They like their technical devices and they're good at them. They're normally good at them. And they really don't like social situations where they have to understand how other children feel. And like the dependable Dan or Diane that we have to prepare when something's out of the ordinary or there's out of routine, this one you have to prepare when you get ready to go to a field trip or when you get ready to be around other people. So I would say to my one son, okay, when someone asks you what is your name, it's the polite thing to tell them and to have a conversation. My name is so-and-so, what is your name? Now, the rest of the moms would think, oh, this is crazy. But if you have a child like this, you understand you have to prepare them for social situations. It's rude to say this. This is what you need to say in a conversation. You have to prepare them so they don't say the wrong things. I remember, like I said, I have one son who this is his second learning personality, if you will, because he has the dominant one. And it rises and it comes to the surface in certain situations. And I remember being at a music class and there was a baby that was in a carrier on the floor. And my son went over there to the baby and he goes, I thought, oh goodness, what's he going to do? And he said, he turned to the mom and he said, this baby smells. Do you ever change its diaper? I could have crawled under the table. My other kids would have never said anything like that. As a matter of fact, they looked over there at me and they looked back at him. And my son didn't think anything. He didn't think he said anything wrong. He just couldn't believe why this mom hadn't changed this baby's diaper. Or he just wanted to ask her, did she ever change it? He really didn't mean anything bad by it. But you see how sometimes things they say, it appears rude, but it's just the way they think. And of course, this mom happened to have a child that was just like mom and just like mine. And she was very loving and she was very kind. And she was a homeschool mom, but not all people are like that. This child could have been seen as rude and we have to help them to see that is rude. We don't say that to people. So these are situations where the social situations is where we need to equip them. This is what we say, this is what we don't do. That way it helps them. Okay, so we need to help them to accept their limitations. They have a perfection tendency as well, just like the dependable Dan or Diane. We need to help them to accept their shortcomings, to look at things a different way, and to enjoy the way that they learn by accepting their limitations and keep their shortcomings in perspective. Okay, that's it for logical Larry and logical Lara.